Good morning. Good morning. It's gorgeous today. It's going to be a little warm at 5 o'clock, 80 something, but you know, we can take it. We don't have smoke from Canada, right? and we don't have any forest fires near us, so a little bit of 80 degrees is fine. My name is Reverend Susie Matranga Watson, and I am your worship leader today. And again, thank you for people in the chapel and those online. We're especially glad that you are with us, and if you're here for the first time, we hope to see you again. I'd like to remind you to please silence your cell phones because I'm going to go do mine right now. Yeah.
Would somebody call it for her, please?
Yeah. Oh. I love my purse because it has lots of areas to put things in, but it has lots of areas to put things in. So that's life, huh? Okay, our speaker today is Reverend Lynn Unger, and we are blessed to have her share her words with us monthly. So you will be seeing her every month preaching. We are really lucky. The land acknowledgement. Eastrose Fellowship gathers on traditional homelands of the Clackamas, Chinook, and other indigenous peoples of this region. We acknowledge the harm of forced removal and honor the continuing presence, sovereignty, and resilience of the Native communities, including the Chinook Indian Nation and the Confederate tribes of Grand Ronde. May we be guided toward relationship, repair, and right action. So we're going to take a moment now and greet each other today, both in the chapel and online. So please stand and face the clock and the cameras and wave at the people that are online. And then turn to your neighbors and say hello. For our online guests, if you would like to share a joy or sorrow during that portion of the service, you can do so by entering in the YouTube chat, and those will be shared out loud with everyone. I also encourage you to identify yourself so that we may better acknowledge your presence today. You know, you can hide, but you can't. What's the saying? You can hide. I don't know what the saying is. It doesn't matter. Okay, our call to worship words are from Lao Tzu, the Tao Chi Ching. Okay. Simplicity, patience, compassion. These are three of your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and thoughts, you return to the source of being. patient with both friends and enemies. You accord the way things are, compassionate toward yourself, and you reconcile all beings in the world. Let us prepare for the worship as we listen to the prelude. Chalice lighting words are from Eric Hepburn. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love is our center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Thank you. The opening words are from Kathleen McTeague. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment of the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble in the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude. Taking time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together. Please rise as you're willing and able in body and spirit and sing 338. I seek the spirit of a child, and the words will be on the screen.
Child who sings the world If anybody would like to come up front with me for our story, I'd be happy to accompany. You don't have to, but you'll be welcome to. Appreciate it. Now you might know this story. You might know a different version of this story. Here's the real version of the story. It's important to me that it's the real version of the story because there's the Disney thing and then there's the real story. This is the real story, which starts with Pooh singing to himself a little bit, and he goes out for a walk. And as Pooh is going along, humming to himself, he comes to a sandy bank, and in the bank there's a large hole. Aha, says Pooh. Tum-tum-tiddlum. If I know anything about anything, that hole means rabbit. And rabbit means company, he said, and rabbit means food and listening to me humming and such like rum-tum-tiddlum. So he bent down and he put his head in the hole, and he called out, "Is anybody home?" There was a sudden scuffling noise from inside the hole, and then there was silence. "What I said is anybody home?" called out Pooh very loudly. "No," said a voice, and then added, "You needn't shout so loud, I heard you quite well the first time." "Bother," said Pooh. "Isn't there anybody here at all?" "Nobody." Winnie the Pooh took his head out of the hole and thought for a little, and he thought to himself, there must be somebody there because somebody must have said nobody. So he put his head back in the hole and said, "Hello, Rabbit, is that you?" "No," said Rabbit, in a different sort of voice this time. "But isn't that Rabbit's voice?" "I don't think so," said Rabbit. "It isn't meant to be." "Oh," said Pooh. He took his head out of the hole and had another think and put it back and said, "Well, could you very kindly tell me where Rabbit is?" "He's gone to see his friend Pooh Bear, who's a great friend of his." "But this is me," said Pooh, very much surprised. "What sort of me?" "Pooh Bear." "Are you sure?" said Rabbit, still more surprised. Quite sure," said Pooh. "Oh, well then come in." So Pooh pushed and pushed and pushed his way through the hole, and at last he got in. "Ah, you were quite right," said Rabbit. "It is you. Glad to see you." "Who did you think it was?" "Well, I wasn't sure. You know how it is in the forest. One can't have anybody coming into one's house. One has to be careful. What about a mouthful of something?" Now, Pooh always liked a little something at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he was very glad to see Rabbit getting out plates and mugs. And when Rabbit said, "Honey or condensed milk with your bread?" he was so excited that he said, "Both." And then, so as to not seem greedy, he added, "But don't bother about the bread, please." And for a long time after that, he said nothing, until at last, humming to himself in a rather sticky sort of voice, he got up and shook Rabbit lovingly by the paw, which I imagine was quite sticky, and said he must be going on. "Oh, must you?" said Rabbit politely. "Well," said Pooh, "I could stay a little longer if you," and he tried very hard to look in the direction of the larder. "As a matter of fact," said Rabbit, "I was going out myself directly." "Well, then I'll be going on. Goodbye." "Well, goodbye, if you're sure you won't have any more." "Is there any more?" Rabbit took the covers off the dishes and said, "No, there isn't." "I thought not," said Pooh, nodding to himself. "Well, goodbye, I must be going on." So he started to climb out the hole. He pulled with his front paws and pushed with his back paws, and in a little while his nose was out in the open, and then his ears, and then his front paws, and then his shoulders, and then, "Oh, help," said Pooh. "I'd better go back." "Oh, bother," said Pooh. "I shall have to go on." "I can't do either," said Pooh. "Oh, help and bother." Now, by this time, Rabbit wanted to go for a walk, too, and finding the front door full, he went out the back door, and he came round to Pooh and looked at him. "Hullo, are you stuck?" he asked. "No," said Pooh, "just resting and thinking and humming to myself." "Here, give us a paw." Pooh Bear stretched out a paw, and Rabbit pulled and pulled and Rabbit pulled. Ow, cried Pooh, you're hurting. The fact is, said Rabbit, you're stuck. It all comes, said Pooh crossly, of not having front doors big enough. It all comes, said Rabbit sternly, of eating too much. I thought at the time, said Rabbit, only I didn't like to say anything, said Rabbit, that one of us was eating too much, said Rabbit, and I knew it wasn't me, he said. Well, I shall go and fetch Christopher Robin. So Christopher Robin lived at the other end of the forest, and he came back with Rabbit and saw the front half of Pooh and said, oh, silly old bear, in such a loving voice that everyone felt quite hopeful again. I was just beginning to think, said Bear, sniffing slightly, that Rabbit might never be able to use his front door again, and I should hate that, he said. So should I, said Rabbit. Use his front door again, said Christopher Robin. Of course, he'll use his front door again. Good, said Rabbit. If we can't pull you out, Pooh, we might push you back. Rabbit scratched his whiskers thoughtfully and pointed out that once Pooh was pushed back, he was back, and of course, nobody was more glad to see Pooh than he was. Still, there was some lived in trees and some lived underground, and you mean I'd never get out, said Pooh. I mean, said Rabbit, having got so far, it seems like it would be a pity to waste it. Christopher Robin nodded. Then there's only one thing to be done, he said. We shall have to wait for you to get thin again. How long does getting thin take? Asked Pooh anxiously. Oh, about a week, I should think. I can't stay here for a week. Oh, you can stay here all right, silly old bear. It's getting you out that's so difficult. We'll read to you, said Rabbit cheerfully. And I hope it won't snow, he added. Anyway, I say, old fellow, you're taking up a good deal of room in my house. Do you mind if I use your back legs as a tea towel rack? I mean, because there they are, doing nothing, and it would be very convenient to just hang towels on them. A week, said Pooh gloomily. What about meals? Oh, I'm afraid no meals, said Christopher Robin, because of getting thin quicker. But we will read to you. Bear began to sigh and then found he couldn't because he was so tightly stuck. And a tear rolled down his cheek, and he said, then would you read a sustaining book such as would help and comfort a wedged bear in great tightness? So for a week, Christopher Robin read that sort of book to the north end of Pooh, and Rabbit hung his washing on the south end of Pooh. And in between, Bear felt himself getting slenderer and slenderer, and at the end of the week, Christopher Robin said, now. So he took hold of Pooh's front paws, and Rabbit took hold of Christopher Robin, and all of Rabbit's friends and relations took hold of Rabbit, and they all pulled together, and for a long time Pooh only said, ow, and oh, and then all of a sudden he said, pop! And just as if a cork were coming out of a bottle, pop, out Pooh came, and Christopher Robin and Rabbit and all of Rabbit's friends and relations went head over heels backwards, and on top of them came Winnie the Pooh, free. So with a nod of thanks to his friends, he went on with his walk through the forest, humming proudly to himself. But Christopher Robin looked after him lovingly and said to himself, silly old bear. Will you please join in singing the kids out?
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Lovely. Jackson. Now I invite you to, this is our quiet time in the service. If you're comfortable, close your eyes, place your feet on the floor, and cross your arms. Drop your shoulders and take a big exhale. Then begin your intentional breathing. This is one way of calming you. You can use this or just another way of intentional breathing. 4 beats in, slowly through your nose. 5 or 6 beats out through your mouth through a steady rhythm. Creating peace and spaciousness as you move from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet grounded on the earth. Complete another round of breathing, and then slowly come back to this space. Please remain seated for the Spirit Song. It's 352. Find a stillness, and the words are on the screen, and it's hymn number 352.
The Cure for It All by Julie Fehrenbacher. Go gently today. Don't hurry or think about the next thing. Walk with the quiet trees. Can you believe how brave they are? How kind? Model your life after theirs. Blow kisses at yourself in the mirror, especially when you think you've messed up. Forgive yourself for not meeting your unreasonable expectations. You're human, not God. Don't be so arrogant. Praise fresh air, clean water, good dogs. Spin something from joy. Open a window, even if it's cold outside. Sit. Close your eyes. Breathe. Allow the river of it all to pulse through eyelashes, fingertips, bare toes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe until you feel your bigness, until the sun rises in your veins. Breathe until you stop needing anything to be different. I suppose, as Kenny Loggins famously sings, I have always wanted to get back to the house at Pooh Corner. So the days of Christopher Robin and Pooh, well, maybe not always. Like most of us, I had a general familiarity with Winnie the Pooh and his friends when I was a little kid. And I remember a record of someone reading stories, and my grandmother even had a songbook of some of the Pooh songs and the Milne poems that she would sometimes play. And I liked Pooh, but I didn't love Pooh until sometime in junior high school when I picked up the stories again on a whim, because there they were in the closet with the books, and realized they were funny, much funnier than I had ever understood as a small child. And once I got hooked by the humor, somehow the world of Pooh just seemed to settle into my soul. There, amongst the silly adventures and the charming language, is something that seems true, basic, maybe even in Jung's language, archetypal. After all, when you get right down to it, the characters of the Pooh stories seem to provide for us as good a typology of the kinds of personalities as, say, the Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram, which might not be saying that much. But as you think about it, as with these more famous typologies, the aspects of the denizens of the 100-acre wood seem to pop up inside of all of us, to differing degrees with differing personalities. There's Tigger, the eternal optimist, who's full of assurance and cheer and liveliness and bounce. And there is his opposite, Eeyore, who knows that all of the world is a gloomy place, like the small, damp bit where he lives, and isn't it a pity that nobody ever comes by? There is Kanga, the archetypal mother, warm-hearted and nurturing and most interested in caring for others, and Owl, the patriarch, the possessor of all wisdom and knowledge, at least he would like you to think so. The role of the child is filled by Roo, who is always excited and ready to go, and utterly without fear and equally without any sense. And by Piglet, who knows that he's a very small animal and does his best to get through this frightening world with some modicum of both safety and self-respect. Rabbit is the organizer, the active principal, ready to make sure that everyone is just as active as he is, and in the way that he wants them to be, which is, after all, the best way for everyone to be. Rabbit is set off by his entourage of friends and relations who seem to exist only for Rabbit to tell them what to do. And, of course, importantly, there's Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, a bear of very little brain. If we were to try to attach our archetypal characters to the major arcana of the tarot cards, another typology, Pooh would be the 0 card, the holy fool traipsing along blissfully unaware that he is perilously close to the cliff. Benjamin Hoff, in his book The Tao of Pooh, claims that Pooh is a great Taoist master, a living example of the way. After all, says Hoff, what is at the center of Taoist thought but Pooh, P-U, the uncarved block? Hoff explains, the essence of the principle of the uncarved block is that things in their original simplicity contain their own natural power, power that is easily spoiled and lost when that simplicity is changed. Pooh is, of course, simplicity itself, a bear of greater appetite than intellect, an essentially joyful soul who wanders through the world waiting for hums to arrive in his head so that he can sing them, full of sweetness of soul that probably comes from many years of excessive honey consumption. He isn't a thinker like Owl and Eeyore. He isn't a doer like Rabbit and Kanga. He simply is. And in his being, there is a particular kind of wisdom. Take, for instance, the episode in which Tigger is unbounced. Rabbit hatches up a plan to bring a little peace to the forest by taking some of the bounce out of Tigger, who is, after all, a very large animal. Rabbit figures that they can lose Tigger in the woods, and when they find him again, he will be a sad Tigger, a melancholy Tigger, a small and sorry Tigger, and, oh, Rabbit, I am so glad to see you, Tigger, if only for a few minutes. So Rabbit and Pooh and Piglet gather up Tigger on a foggy day for an adventure in the woods. And then they ditch Tigger, who, after getting bored with no one to bounce or say, "I say, come on," to merely returns home. Rabbit and company, however, aren't so fortunate. "The fact is," said Rabbit, "we've missed our way somehow." They were having a rest in a small sandpit at the top of the forest. Pooh was getting rather tired of that sandpit and suspected it of following them about, because whichever direction they started in, they always ended up at it, and each time as it came through the mist at them, Rabbit said triumphantly, "Now I know where we are," and Pooh said sadly, "So do I." And Piglet said nothing. He had tried to think of something to say, but the only thing he could think of was, "Help, help." And it seemed silly to say that when he had Pooh and Rabbit with him. "Well," said Rabbit, after a long silence in which nobody thanked him for the nice walk they were having, "we'd better get on, I suppose. Which way shall we try?" "How would it be," said Pooh slowly, "if, as soon as we're out of sight of this pit, we try to find it again?" "Well, what's the good of that?" said Rabbit. "Well," said Pooh, "we keep looking for home and not finding it, so I thought that if we looked for this pit, we'd be sure to not find it. Which would be a good thing, because then we might find something that we weren't looking for, which we might just be what we were looking for, really." "I don't see much sense in that," said Rabbit. "No," said Pooh humbly, "there isn't, but there was going to be when I began it. It's just that something happened to it on the way. If I walked away from this pit and then walked back to it, of course I should find it." "Well, I just thought perhaps you wouldn't. I just thought." "Try," said Piglet suddenly. "We'll wait here for you." Rabbit gave a laugh to say how silly Piglet was and walked out into the mist. After he had gone 100 yards, he turned and walked back again. And after Pooh and Piglet had waited 20 minutes for him, Pooh got up. "I just thought," said Pooh. "Now then, Piglet, let's go home." "But Pooh," cried Piglet, all excited, "you know the way." "No," said Pooh, "but there are 12 pots of honey in my cupboard, and they've been calling to me for hours. I couldn't hear them properly before because Rabbit would talk, but if nobody says anything except those 12 pots, I think, Piglet, I shall know where they're calling from. Come on." They walked off together, and for a long time Piglet said nothing so as not to interrupt the pots, and then suddenly he made a squeaky noise and a ooh noise, because he began to know where they was, and he still didn't dare say so out loud in case he wasn't, and just when he was getting so sure of himself that it didn't matter whether the pots went on calling or not, there was a shout from in front of him, and out of the mist came Christopher Robin. Pooh knows something that Rabbit, the thinker, the organizer, the guy in charge, doesn't. He knows his way home. He knows what he loves, and he knows how to listen for the voice of what he loves to guide him. Now, we might note that Tigger also knows how to find his way home. There are a lot of things, from flying to swimming to climbing trees, that Tigger claims to know how to do that he does not, in fact, know. But unlike all of those things, he does know how to get back home. Perhaps it would not be such a bad thing for all of us intellectual, organized, go out and fix the world Unitarian Universalists to contemplate. Tigger, who lives in a state of chaotic joy, who is, if anything, a fully embodied being, and Pooh, in his simple, utterly open love for sweetness, know how to get themselves back to where they belong in a way that Rabbit might never learn. Pooh and Piglet put it this way. "Rabbit's clever," said Pooh thoughtfully. "Yes," said Piglet, "Rabbit's clever." "And he has brain." "Yes," said Piglet, "Rabbit has brain." There was a long silence. "I suppose," said Pooh, "that's why he never understands anything." It's not that brain and organization are bad. Certainly they have an important place. But the hazard of intellect and initiative is that it's very easy to try to impose our will over the natural course of things, the Tao, to try to make things go against their nature. Tigger is simply not meant to be unbounced, and the sooner Rabbit learns that, the better it will be for all concerned. It is, of course, a great paradox, for clearly there are some things in the world that deserve our effort, that need to be changed. The model of Pooh's Taoist simplicity doesn't serve as an excuse to ignore injustice or to relieve us of the obligation to be a force for good in the world. But there is also a power in having the gentleness and the insight to see things as they are, rather than as we assume they should be, and allowing people and other beings to be the whole they are, not the version that we want or expect from them. There is an almost magical creativity as well as grace that comes from trusting things to be themselves. I guess I will note that there is a rather staggering example of what it looks like when you fail to trust things to be themselves. And assuming that you know what it is to make them into, with the military's recent decision to check testosterone levels on all male soldiers and supplement that hormone on those who are deemed to be insufficient. This is obviously a very bad idea for many reasons, but the impulse to fix things, to improve matters, to make things more the way we know that they should be, is what it looks like when you do that. And maybe it's not so terribly foreign. You use tend on the whole to be rabbits, to be people with ideas about how things should happen, which is great. But we can sometimes get lost trying to impress our vision on a world that is not overly impressed by our ideas of what is right. But maybe sometimes it's less important to be right than to be open to possibility. We see this one morning when Pooh meets Eeyore in an especially gloomy mood. "Good morning, Eeyore," said Pooh Bear. "Good morning, Pooh Bear," said Eeyore gloomily. "If it is a good morning," he said. "Which I doubt," said he. "Why, what's the matter?" "Nothing, Pooh Bear, nothing. We can't all, and some of us don't. That's all there is to it." "Can't all what?" said Pooh, rubbing his nose. "Gaiety, song and dance, here we go around the mulberry bush." It turns out that Eeyore is miserable because no one has remembered his birthday. Pooh runs home to find him a present, and on the way he bumps into Piglet and tells his little friend of Eeyore's plight. Piglet runs home to get a balloon, and Pooh stumps off to get a jar of honey. But alas, Pooh eats the honey before he remembers that he was carrying it to Eeyore as a present, and Piglet, in his rush to be the first to bring a gift, trips and pops the balloon. Both Piglet and Eeyore are standing around feeling miserable about the damp bit of rubber that is all that is left of Piglet's gift when Pooh arrives with his empty pot. "Many happy returns of the day," called out Pooh, forgetting he had said it already. "Thank you, Pooh. I'm having them," said Eeyore gloomily. "I've brought you a little present," said Pooh excitedly. "I've had it," said Eeyore. Pooh had now splashed across the stream to Eeyore, and Piglet was sitting a little way off, his head in his paws, snuffling to himself. "It's a useful pot," said Pooh. "Here it is, and it's got a very happy birthday with love from Pooh written on it. That's what all the writing is." Owl helped with that. "And it's for putting things in there." When Eeyore saw the pot, he became quite excited. "Why," he said, "I believe my balloon will just go into that pot." "Oh, no," Eeyore said Pooh. "Balloons are much too large to go into pots. What you do with a balloon is you hold the balloon." "Not mine," said Eeyore proudly. "Look, Piglet." As Piglet looked sorrowfully round, Eeyore picked up the balloon with his teeth and placed it carefully in the pot. And he picked it out again, and he put it on the ground, and then he picked it up again and put it carefully back. "So it does," said Pooh, "it goes in." "So doesn't it," said Piglet, "and it comes out." "Doesn't it," said Eeyore, "it goes in and out like anything." "I'm very glad," said Pooh happily, "that I thought of giving you a useful pot to put things in." "I'm very glad," said Piglet, "that I thought of giving you something to put in a useful pot." But Eeyore wasn't listening. He was taking the balloon out and putting it back again, as happy as could be. Sometimes a burst balloon is better than a whole one. Sometimes an empty pot is better than a full. The great Taoist Lao Tzu writes, 30 spokes share the wheel's hub. It is the center hole that makes it useful. Shape clay into a vessel, it is the space within that makes it useful. Cut doors and windows for a room, it is the holes that make it useful. Therefore, profit comes from what is there. Usefulness comes from what is not there. Perhaps it is that state of emptiness, of opening ourselves to the nothing, that might lead us to wisdom. It could just be that Pooh Bear needs his time stuck in a tight space to come into a fullness of himself that is somehow smaller, so long as he has his friends to read to him or make him feel useful in ways he never could have imagined. Maybe embracing a bit of nothing allows us to become quiet enough to listen to the voices both outside us and inside us that have something that we need to hear. Maybe in the openness that is beginner's mind, we can find new possibilities, unseen connections, different versions of what it means to be at home. "Where are we going?" said Pooh, hurrying after Christopher Robin, wondering whether it was to be an explorer or a what do I do about you-know-what. "Nowhere," said Christopher Robin. So they began going there, and after they had walked a little way, Christopher Robin said, "What do you like doing best in the world, Pooh?" "Well," said Pooh, "what I like best," and then he had to stop and think, because although eating honey was a very good thing to do, there was a moment just before you began to eat it that was better than when you were, but he didn't know what it was called. And then he thought that being with Christopher Robin was a very good thing to do, and having Piglet nearby was a very friendly thing to have, and so when he had thought it all out, he said, "What I like best in the world is me and Piglet going to see you, and you saying, 'What about a little something?' and me saying, 'Well, I shouldn't mind a little something, should you, Piglet?' and it being a hummy sort of day outside and birds singing." "I like that too," said Christopher Robin, "but what I like doing best is nothing." "How do you do nothing?" asked Pooh, after he had wondered for a long time. "Well, it's when people call out to you just as you're going off to do it, 'What are you going to do, Christopher Robin?' and you say, 'Oh, nothing,' and then you go and do it." "Oh, I see," said Pooh. "This is a nothing sort of thing we're doing now." "Oh, I see," said Pooh again. "It means just going along, listening to all the things that you can't hear, and not bothering." "Oh," said Pooh. They walked on, thinking of this and that, and by they came to an enchanted place at the very top of the forest called Galleon's Lap. Christopher Robin will, like us, grow up and have no choice but to move in the world of information and things to be done. But if we're careful and leave spaces for nothing to happen, then perhaps we might find our way, at least now and then, into that enchanted place at the top of the forest where a little boy and his bear will always be playing. "So help me if you can, I've got to get back to the house at Pooh Corner by 1. You'd be surprised, there's so much to be done. Count all the bees in the hive, chase all the clouds from the sky, back to the days of Christopher Robin and Pooh." Blessed be and amen. Our closing hymn, which I should have available to us. Susie is going to remind us of our closing hymn because I have gotten too involved in the nothing. Our closing hymn is, in fact, Now I Recall My Childhood, and the words will be up on the screen, or you will find it as number 191 in the gray hymnal.
share 1/4 of the cash offering with a local organization doing good works in our community. Portland Immigrants' Rights Coalition is our Sharing the Bounty partner from March through August. They work to empower immigrants, unite families, and build a just community. PIRC maintains a hotline to report ICE activities, provides referrals to legal aid and social services, trains rapid response migrant workers, and maintains a daily presence at the Portland Immigration Court and ICE building. If you are online, you may donate by visiting our website and clicking the donate button, or you may scan the QR code on the screen. If you are here for the first time, we invite you to let the basket pass and truly be our guest. The gifts of the congregation will now most gratefully be received. Remain seated, and we will sing our song of gratitude, 1010 in the teal hymnal. We give thanks, and it is on the screen. Thank you to Lynn for that wonderful sermon. Oh. Okay, we extinguish the chalice. These are the words by Eric Hepburn. We extinguish this flame to remind us love is the center. As we explore and rest, engage and heal, love remains the center. When all we can see is cold ashes, love remains. announcements. I don't have any. Yay. But if you receive the petals, please read the petals. There are lots of things going on in the church. There's hiking, there's events, there's la, 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 la. It just goes on. Crafts. What a fun church we have, huh? I want to thank all the people that participated in this service for the music and for the greeters and for Reverend Lynn and John, and it just goes on, and all of you for coming on this beautiful day to spend time with each other. So,
Please join in our unison benediction. The words are on the screen.
Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings.
I hope you will join us for coffee and conversation in the Thatcher Room behind us. Take care.